Before we get into today's video, there are a couple of tournaments and match arenas I'd like you to check out. For those who don't know, Match Arena is a service which allows you to directly contribute to the pot bonus of any tournament, meaning the money that goes towards the players. All you gotta do is click the link below, log in, and hit claim code on the right hand side of your screen, alright? It's free money. The first tournament that we have is for Skullgirls. 86 presents Girls Night Out, which is taking place on the 16th of February. Go ahead and get those codes knocked out, there's only 24 left. The next one is also for Skullgirls, which is Skullgirls Assaulty, taking place today as of this video being made. There are 13 codes left. Pretty sure we can knock those out as well. The next two are for TNS. This one is for Grand Blue. There are 49 codes left. Really going to have to haul through these. It is taking place today as well. And the last one is for Street Fighter, and there's a multitude of ways to get more money in that match arena. But like I said, guys, let's get our players paid, and thank you guys so much. Let's get right into the video. Gotenks is a rushdown / set play character whose wide array of normals, specials, and supers allow him to take advantage in any situation. If you like a character who can build meter for your team, has great tax energy, and also has suffocating pressure, this is the character for you. Let's start by talking about his normals. The first normal we're going to talk about is his 5L. It's a forward advancing 6-frame button that is a mid, and it is -3 on block. Unfortunately, he can't do this twice in a block string, so you have to do this manually if you want to stagger it, but it is safe to do, as it is -3, so it's a really good stagger button. Alright, the next normal we have is 5LL, which is a 9-frame mid that doesn't really advance that much. It's really short, so I don't recommend doing something like this in neutral. But it is good for block strings as well as combo fodder, so it's really good for that. The next normal is his 5LLL, which is a staple of the character. He's had this since Season 1. It leaves him airborne, which allows him to actually air dash forward and continue pressure, or play around the fact that he doesn't have to do anything. He can even backdash, but a really strong pressure tool that we're going to get in later. But just know that this is something that you want to get used to using in his kit. The next normal is his 2L, which is a 7-frame low, which is his go-to mix option, and it's his fastest low. This is also -4, and you can do it twice in a string if you want to check for jumps or reflect, things like that. Really good tool to use because people don't like blocking against Gotenks for long. So just get used to doing this to check for jumps and reflect. Really strong tool. The next one is his 5M, which is a forward advancing 9-frame mid at -5, and it's a really strong option to end your block strings off of, especially when spaced, because you can make this up to -0. Really strong tool, really good in combos, really good in block strings, and it doesn't go super far, but it goes far enough that you can kind of throw this out in neutral if you want to. If you see something whiff and you're like, okay, well, I want to kill you, that can happen. 2M is the other button that I recommend using in neutral if you want to check someone, because it goes pretty far. And as you can see, this is normally 11 frames and -7, but you can space this to make this really safe. So just be mindful of when you see this hit late that you are safe. But I don't recommend any of your block strings using this, just because it is unsafe and people are liable to mash against them. So just keep that in mind when you're staggering with this character. The next normal is 5H, which is 13 frames and -8. There is something special about this normal. You can charge it, and once you fully charge it, it becomes +1. The way that I would recommend using this move if you want to is to just charge it a little bit and let go of it. People are liable to jump, they're liable to mash, and once they see this animation, they want to do something, then you can hit them out of it. But it's not his greatest stagger tool. It's not something I would recommend going for. It's just something kind of neat. Something that's also neat about this normal is that once you charge this, it jails into super dash. So keep that in mind if you ever want to use that in your toolkit. If you ever get that off, just know that you don't have to really worry about the follow-up sequence. You can always just do this in the super dash. The next normal that we're going to talk about is his 2H. Now this one is a little bit of an odd one. It's his anti-air, but it doesn't have the greatest range, and it hits on both sides, so there's kind of pros and cons to it. Another pro about this is that even though it leaves them in the air, you have specials that are very fast, so you don't have to necessarily just commit to super dash or something like that. You can always just do this, hit confirm, and just go right into L hands or whatever you want to do. Really good for this character. It leaves him in the air, so he can even do something like this, which is an option that he normally can't do on the ground. or you can't do it on the ground at all actually. So 2H I would not recommend using it in block strings either, just because this happens and you're going to die for this. So don't use it in block strings. Use it more so just as an answer against you know, in the scramble, if you see someone try to approach you and you know that they like to ID at you or they super dash, this is the kill button. Okay. Now, as far as his 5S, it's a key blast that starts at 14 frames point blank and 29 from full screen. Now, he only has 4 of these. So in the key blast war, which I have a video on, go check that out. He doesn't have much to deal with other people's key blasts, but he does have a good key blast because it is -4. This is used to check reflect. This is used to check people wanting to super dash. Something like this is really good. Also, this sequence is really good if you want to take advantage of that charged 5H like earlier, just because if people do reflect, they will get hit by this. So very, very strong stagger tool for him. Just be careful. People will super dash if you do this too much. But yeah, so for his air normals, this is really where he shines as a character. Something that he's had since the game began is a ridiculous JL. So as you can see, his JL is used to bring the opponent down because it is 3 hits and he can do it twice in one action, right? So this means that he can actually do 6 hits of JL before he even has to commit to his JM or his JH. And he can also jump cancel him as well, but normally you would never have to do that. If you're going to air tear, use this button. This button has very good active frames, confirms into itself because if you're doing both of them, then it's going to go right into JM. I can show that here. Right. So you don't normally want to press the button super early, just because you want to get all hits of JL out if you're trying to deal them to the ground. But this is just a really, really strong tool for this character to have, and it exemplifies his rush down a lot. Alright, so the next normal that he has is JM, which is a 9 frame overhead. Very, very good. This is his mix option for the air if you want to a little bit more damage off of your mix-ups. You can still use JL, but just having access to JM is really, really good too. So this also in conjunction with another normal he has is really good, which I will talk about shortly. But moving on to JH, this JH is ridiculous, alright? This JH goes so far. You'll be surprised using this in normal, using this in neutral, you'll find a lot of hits just coming from how high this can hit and how low it'll hit the opponent. So this is also a combo tool, which is not exclusive to Gotenks, but not many characters can use the fact that they have a JH and they can use specials to go into their moves, but I'll talk about that in the combo section. So JH, very good normal and neutral. This is normally what you want to do when you want to check your landing if someone tries to, you know, run at you. Also, this is really good to kind of check the space in front of you if you air dash forward. But overall, this is just mainly a jump in normal if you want to surprise your opponent. It's kind of good across the board, I'll be honest. But normally you want to do this into, or excuse me, you want to do JL into JH just because you have the option to jail them all the way down to the ground no matter what. So the next normal he has is his JS, which is a key blast that is pretty good. It sends him backwards, and you can do 2 in a row, which is really, really strong, just to check someone trying to dash at you, or you want to create that space for yourself. Really, really strong. And he has a forward version, which sends him forward. Now, this is really, really strong for the character. This is probably one of the most oppressive tools he has, because this jails, and I can show this here. Excuse me. See how high that hit from? So this is something that you want to get really used to using, especially in neutral when you have the advantage and people like to chase after you. Just doing this and alternating between these two will show you what the player is trying to do, right? If they super dash, it's not the biggest of deals. You can kind of take your turn. In the RPS situation against super dash, he has a really good answer just because if he air dashes and he hits you with JL, he's going to drag you down to the ground. So super dashing at Gotenks is not the greatest idea, but it can work for certain characters. So the JS and J6S, like I said, they're both really good neutral tools, but however, I would recommend using assist with these. And the reason why I say that is because normally when you use these, hit confirming is not the hardest, but you run the risk of someone running up and just doing like this, or having a countermeasure like base 50 to disc, or like Kefla 226M, like her anti-air ball. A lot of these things can actually deal with him, and he can't necessarily hit that area as strongly as he would like to, because his beam can only go in a certain direction. So when using 5S and 6S, I recommend using an assist, just because you do have the option of running a mix-up afterwards, or you keep yourself safe if the opponent does want to super dash at you. Alright, the last normal in the air for him is his J2H. This is not really anything special. This is just a combo tool. And it does have a really good range to it for combos, just because there's a certain method that you're going to use later that I will show. But for now, that is his normals, and our next session is actually going to be regarding his specials. Gotenks has a wide array of specials that can kind of cancel into each other, but there's a little bit of a restriction on it. So he has a 226X series, which is his hands, all of these, and he has a 2 and 4L series, which are all of these Blades, right? But the rule is that if you do hands into Beyblade, you cannot cancel into anything else, okay? If you do Beyblade into hands, you cannot cancel into anything else. So, what do? He has a special that he can kind of throw in between, which is his 2 and 4S in the air, which allows him to get another Rekka series, and he's able to actually do a lot with this, whether it's a combo, whether it's mix, whether it's neutral. He can kind of just throw this into the mix, and he's able to expand a lot of his game plan. So let's go through every single special. 236L, 9 frame, -2. It's really good in staggers and combos as well. All of these build pretty much a lot of meter in your combos. You're going to find that out as soon as you start playing with the character. But this one is -2, and there's a mind game with this special as well, because you can hold it or you can not hold it, and you can kind of take your turn back because you can threaten to cancel into the other ones, as well as the EX hands, which is plus on block. But this is going to go into mix later on, but just keep that in mind as we go down these specials, that they can all cancel into each other. 226M is 36 frames. It's +3 no matter how you slice it, and it is very reactable, so keep in mind when you use this, do not overuse it. This is something that will get 2H'd, and you're going to die for this. So just keep in mind that this is something that you can kind of do. There's maybe a situation where you can kind of check up back with it, but it's not the greatest. I would just do JL and bring him down. So yeah, 226H is his plus on block move that jails from any special, from any normal. It's +1, and it's also 9 frames, and it does a ton of shit damage. So this is something that you want to kind of keep in your back pocket as like, okay, when I want my turn back, I just do this. And as a little tip later on, just try to do 5L afterwards if you're not checking for like reflect or something like that, just because they will jump, and 2L will not catch them afterwards. And you can end up actually clashing with certain 5Ls if you do 2L. So just kind of always do 5L to check and run your offense from there. So 226H, really good. And let's move on to his Beyblade. So 2 and 4L was a pseudo lariat, just because it goes pretty far. Unfortunately, he is in the air when it happens, so he can't be 2H'd, but he is projectile invulnerable. I should say key blast invulnerable. So he will go through a key blast, for example. Right, so this is kind of something if you want to check that space where they're throwing a lot of key blast, and you kind of just want to be like, well, I don't like you, so let me just, But this is mainly used for that purpose. There are air versions of the Beyblades, which I'm going to show shortly, but just for now, this is the grounded version. It's also -5. The M version is one that sends him upward. Usually this is meant for combos, or if you want to kind of get somewhere high. This is kind of what you want to do. There's not much use to it in kind of neutral, but in combos it's really good. And on block, you can get something like that going, which is really good, because you can kind of go either same side or cross up. But I don't recommend using this too often, just because you will get 2H for it as well if you overuse it. Now, EX Beyblade is the one that I want to put a lot of emphasis on, as this is probably the best special move that he has. This opens up a lot for the character when it comes to his mix-ups, for his combos, for his tag synergies. This is kind of the main thing that you want to use for him. So just imagine you're having a good day in the park, and you want to, kind of throw out that little blanket, and Gotenks comes along. He's just like, no, we're going back to your house. All the way in the corner. That was mid-screen to the corner. he sent you back home. All right. And the reason why this is so good is because of a mix that he actually has access to due to this. And of course he does have his usual, go into EX hands or whatever from there, but there is something I want to emphasize later on that is really, really strong about that. But this is something that you want to keep in mind. He can also do something like this, where he can kind of take corner if you do it correctly. And this is kind of how he positions himself on the screen. You can get that sequence to jail, by the way. I'm just bad. And he really just runs like his offense from that move. Like once you got all of your combo or your block string filler out of the way, throw that out there and just take him to the corner. Very, very strong. Now, as far as his other specials on the ground, he has a beam, he has an up beam, and he can also fake both of them out. Very, very good in pressure, just because he can simply take something like that and take it back into plus frames. And as you can see, there is a pattern of him being able to get plus frames for pretty much anything. You can do this one, get back in. Very, very good to kind of throw in your staggers. This one is really, really good too, just because he can kind of fake people out from wanting to run under him and doing something like this. Very, very, very strong. So it's also a really good combo tool because he can super dash afterwards. And in the corner, if you do it low enough to the ground, he can connect 5L afterwards. Really, really good. His 2 and 4S, plus 5 on block, 29 frame startup. Really, really good to do after something like this, just because it spaces yourself. If they 5L, then they get hit. And it also allows you to aim the Galactic Donut, which means that you can bait reflect. You can kind of call it out, and then you can 2M for it. Really, really good. After 2 and 4S, I recommend using 2M as a check, just because you kind of want to make sure that they don't jump from you. But otherwise, it's a really, really good pressure tool, as well as a very strong combo tool for a specific sequence we'll talk about later. So his next special, which is his Barrage, which is the only special that he can't do on the ground from his Rekka series, is this one. And as you can see, it does a lot of chip damage, and as well, this builds a ton of meter on the combo side, and you can actually cancel this into super dash, which opens up his mix theory, because this character has really strong mix from this tool. You wouldn't think it, but I'll show you later. So this is pretty much used to cut off the screen. If you want to get your opponent in or get your assist in, this is really good to do, just because they can't super dash because they will get hit. So just keep this in mind. It's pretty much his go-to for wanting to get the character out. Alright, and the last special I want to talk about is his 6M, simply just because I don't consider it a normal, because you can't vanish cancel it, but it is pretty standard. It doesn't have the greatest range, but it is his JH, so it has a disjoint to it. So that's pretty much it for his specials, and yeah, for the next segment we're going to talk about his supers and his Ghost Oki. Alright, so for Gotenks, he has 3 specials, 2 which are level 1s and 1 that is a level 3. The first one is going to be using the L and the M inputs, is his super for DHCs and damage. And you'll notice that he summons 5 ghosts, which is different from his alternate version, which is with S and H, which causes 4 ghosts to appear. Alright. Now his super, his damage super is not the greatest on as far as like supers go for damage, but it does get the job done, and it also has really good tag synergy with certain characters like Adult Gohan or like your Nappas. They can get DR and stuff like that off of his DHC, which is really, really strong. So just keep that in mind when building your teams. But as far as the Ghost Oki goes, I'm not going to cover the inputs and stuff like that, but this is his main pressure tool once he gets his offense going, just because it is pretty easy to kind of just get the opponent into a 50-50 state, allow them to make mistakes and things of that nature. And you kind of want to kind of model your offense around this. If you don't have a designated second character or third character you want to have your offense based around, but this is his go-to when it comes to offense when he can get this. Okay. Now his level 3 is not the greatest either. It causes the or it has a full screen attack. It's his best reversal just because he doesn't have a DP, so this is kind of something you want to go for. He can do it in the air, so if you're in the situation where they super dash this, you can kind of do this just to beat them out entirely. It doesn't do the greatest damage either, but it does run the clock out of sparking, which is really, really good. So yeah, it's a very, very decent level 3. So those are his specials in a nutshell. Alright, here's the really fun part about the character, alright? A lot of people seem to think that Gotenks doesn't have the greatest amount of mix in the world, but I beg to differ, okay? So starting off, we're going to talk about his auto combo, which is a really strong pressure tool and something that you can use to kind of inflate your opponent into thinking one way and punishing them for doing that, okay? So 5LL by itself is -0, or is 0 on block, excuse me, and he has air action afterwards, which means he can call an assist like this and go low, or he can do something like this and go high. Now, once you start playing better players, if you're not already, they will tend to want to reflect simply because they see an assist and they're like, well, if I don't have to hold the assist interaction, I can just reflect and I'll be fine. You know, there's not really much of a mix-up there. However, if you're playing an assist that has enough block stun and is single hitting like Nappa's, then you can do something like this, which means that it punishes them for wanting to stand with an instant overhead. So if they choose to, you know, down back after the interaction, they're like, okay, well, he landed. Why would I want to, you know, stay standing when he can just 2M me, you know? And then you start doing this to them. Really, really strong tool that I haven't seen any Gotenks player use yet, outside of myself, of course. But it is a very strong offensive tool, because once you start doing that, then this becomes really messed up. You know, you start looking for that. It's really, really hard to deal with that mental stack. So outside of just that, the 5LL itself does have a couple of mind games. Like, for example, you can just do this solo and you can kind of take your turn back. If they up back, then you're still plus. If you do this, you can do that to get back in and see if they moved or anything like that. You can also do something like this to stuff 2H's. Not the greatest option, but it is something that you can kind of do if you notice your opponent likes to 2H a lot. So that kind of runs the the mix up with 5LL. The next thing we're going to talk about is his Rekka mind games. He has a couple of them, but the main one I want to focus on is the hands. So 236L by itself is -2, and he can cancel into the 8th one, which has a natural frame gap. But the thing here is that when people do this, they like to cut it short and then they take their turn back, because if you try to press, then I do this. You see what I'm saying? So you kind of want to, you know, establish that you know how to use your regular hands versus EX hands to threaten that little space. Now, what you can do as well is that once you do this, a lot of people will be like, well, I don't want to hold the interaction because I don't want to have to just guess wrong. If they reflect, then this loses to reflect. If they reflect, this loses to reflect. So what I like to do is I like to wait, see what they do. If they reversal, they get killed. If they like to reflect, they get killed. And if they just are patient, then you get to take your turn back. So that's kind of the mind game that comes with EX hands. Now, there is another interaction that I'd like to call forth, is when you're in neutral and you want to do it, you can actually hold back. And what that means is that when they like to 2H you for this, then you can kind of just be like, and stop it short, which is really good for baiting. Something that you can do is like this, which looks weird, but it does bait reflect. Something that a lot of players like to do back in the day when Gotenks was really popular. So this is something to keep in the back of your mind. And this also beats Super Dash too, so you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, the next mix-up we're going to talk about is, I think, the most volatile one that he has, simply because of how strongly he can get it, or how accessible it is to him. So when you do 2 and 4 into this, you can actually cancel the first hit of this into Super Dash. Now you may be thinking, oh well, I don't care about that. Like, I'm gonna just 2H him, you know? It beats 2H. Okay, this completely beats 2H. It beats everyone's anti-airs that aren't frame 1. So that's out of the equation. All right, and you're like, man, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just gonna reflect. I'm plus 11, which means I can M starter you and kill you. Okay, this is the main mix-up that I like to go for with Gotenks, simply because it is a 50-50 on whether or not I'm gonna do it, and it is a 50-50 if you hold it. Okay, not to mention if I do something like this, Alright, so he not only does he have access to the 50-50, he gets to set up his best mix-up from it, and also has access to something like this, where he can do a double overhead, or he can do low, or he can do whatever he wants to. So this is kind of the main mix-up that I would go for with Gotenks, outside of just doing this. But once you start getting used to this, you're going to be like, wow, this is really messed up. And it really becomes really strong because, I don't know why I keep saying really, sorry. But once you start applying it in certain situations like this, and you start super dashing, you're going to see that, oh wow, he just gets this from pretty much any interaction that is towards the corner. Because remember earlier I was like, well, you see what I'm saying? Like that gets really, really tricky. So this is something that I like, I want to see more Gotenks players use, just because it is very, very, very strong. Alright, so Ghost Oki is pretty simple. I'm going to have the inputs up on the screen for you guys. But to kind of explain it, the reason why I'm using them in that order is because S is the macro for super jump in the game. So kind of use it to get this forward jump, this one. The L is to frame kill for the mix-up. And it's also a normal that is pretty lengthy and allows you to cancel into the H ghost. So you do like this, and you press H in the middle of that, and then the ghosts are going to pop up. I'll show you shortly. And then M is the one that we want to keep for the later, simply because Gotenks' main offensive tool, like the one we talked about, is his auto combo, right? It doesn't require the M button at all. So you can actually use the M ghost for a mix-up later on down the line. But here we go. This is what it should look like. Right? And you have that M ghost, and you just kind of look at them. Now, there are a couple of things I should note before we get into the mix-ups with Ghost Oki. They can vanish, and they can frame 4 this. So if they have like hits frame 4, or if they have Gogeta's frame 1 projectile invulnerable, or they have cells, in some cases which you can just kind of crouch and look at him, he'll get hit by Ghost. But frame 4s will kill this if you don't check for them, okay? So with that out of the way, you kind of want to look at the opponent sometimes and see what they do. If they try to vanish, you can kill them. And with certain interactions, you may want to kind of just look at them. If they try to reflect, normally you would want to punish a reflect with Ghost. However, if you can't kill them, I would recommend just letting the Ghost kind of rock and then doing the mix-up after their reflect. It may sound counterintuitive, be like, oh, well, free damage is on the table. Trust me, there are certain situations where you would rather just want to put the opponent in the 50-50 again. That way you can kind of get the best situation out of it. Because you lose out on meter, you lose out on damage if you let the Ghost hit. So, the mix-up when it comes to Ghost Oki is pretty simple. You either have high, and you can do that from it as well. Which is something I haven't seen before. You actually get 2 50-50s off of the Ghost interaction. Now, of course, a lot of people may be like, well, in this situation, I would just rather reflect and take the Ghost. That's fair, and I don't, I don't see the non-value in that, but it is pretty hard to deal with it once you've gotten, kind of used to dealing with, for example, right? If I conditioned you, and I do this, and then I start doing that, and then I hit you low because you're trying to reflect, it's going to be really hard to deal with that, especially because I can even go into the auto combo mix-ups that I talked about earlier. The same applies for the Ghost. You're just doing it with a Ghost and not an assist. So that's the kind of the cliff notes about Ghost Oki. There are some interactions and conversions you'll want to learn yourself, but for that, you kind of just have to play the game and be like, well, I got hit by that. Let me see what I can do about that. So Ghost Oki, like I said, pretty simple. S, L, H, M, and that's kind of how you want to work around it. Especially if you're a pad player, this is really easy. So that's mostly his mix theory. There are certain situations where if you do level 3 and you're outside of the corner, you can do this mix up where you go same side or you can cross up depending on which one you do. But I'm not really good at that one. If you do learn it, it's really good. Just because his reward is really good off of that, excuse me. But yeah, that just covers most of his mix game and why I think he's very, very strong and volatile in this season, where 50-50s are kind of just everywhere. He also has a 50-50 pretty much everywhere, just because he can drag you to the corner. So, alright, the next topic we're going to talk about is his combos. For this portion of the video, I will not be using assists out of specific tag synergies just because I want to show basically what Gotenks can do by himself, and if you have something specific to your team, you'll have to find that out for yourself. But I will only show universal applications and nothing more. So with that being said, we're going to focus on the B&Bs and what you can kind of glean from his combo theory. So his combo theory is pretty simple. The main tool for his combos currently is his beam, just because he can super dash. So what I recommend is learning this basic route where you do 2M, 5M, super jump JM, beam, JM, this, and you hit that. So this is basically his go-to whenever he hits a super jump JM. So for example, if they were to go like this, right? So you can always kind of get that height if you do super jump JM into beam. You don't have to correct anything else, just do that, and then you'll be able to confirm into this combo. So this is what the full combo should look like. Right. So this is obviously geared towards the fact that you want to get Ghost Oki after every interaction. So most often your combos will end with back JH, just because you want to get that height and distance away from the character to do Ghost Oki, which is not, you know, it doesn't really take out from his damage because he does have impressive damage. So that was a B&B for the mid screen. Let's talk about the corner real quick. So the corner is pretty simple. As long as you can do this, then you have a combo. It's really not that hard. He can do it from basically anywhere. So that's kind of what you want to go for if you ever get like a stray hit or something like that. Always just go right down into L Beyblade, into beam, into 5L, and you can kind of get your rejump from there and go whatever you want to do. But this is the currently the combo that I use for the mid screen. It's kind of, it's a little bit complex, but once you get the hang of it, you're gonna be like, okay, well this does a lot of damage and it's really, really good. So okay, so that's 4.2 off of a 2L, built 2 bars, and normally your routes want to at least build 2 bars or like 1.7, something like that, just so you can get Ghost Oki and the follow-up after you can kill with. But this combo is kind of unstable if you're not doing it off of 2L 5M. So what I recommend is if you're a little bit hesitant with it, just do something like this. Right, does a little bit less damage, a little bit less meter, but it is consistent, especially off of a I can't say this, straight random hit. There we go. So yeah, off of like your 6S's and stuff like that, you want to be careful, because if you do like this and then you go into a route, you're gonna either scuff your damage, you're gonna scuff your meter. You're not gonna be able to run the game, the Gotenks game plan super well. But with that being said, those are basically the 2 routes that you want to learn. There's only one other route that I recommend learning if you're wanting to use Ghost Oki, and it's basically off of this interaction. Super Ghost Kamikaze attack! And this route is specific to Ghost Oki because the interaction between a 2 and 4S hitting and the ghost flying through them is necessary to get meter gain for the combo and to be able to kill. So that's pretty much what you want to kind of look for when you're doing your Ghost Oki routes. And that's why I recommend just doing this autopiloted, because you get pressure anyways, you get mixed up anyways, you don't have to really hit confirm or anything. If you want to build 3 bars and you have a beam, so that's a pretty good combo to kind of build 3 bars out of nowhere, especially if you play a character that has like a level 3 mix or something like that. But other than that, there aren't many other combos I could recommend, at least for beginners. If you're a little bit more advanced and you get like a 5M, 2M, and you're like, I don't know what to do from here, what I recommend doing is doing this. it'll give you the same height as if you were to do a super jump JM into beam. So that's kind of one of the few uses for 214M outside of the corner that you can do. So yeah, as far as his combos go, it really just comes down to assist specific things. He really does give a lot to a team, especially when it comes to meter gain and positioning. Especially when you have certain combos where you want to do like this, when you have like a Cyberman setup, or you do Zamasu route, whatever character that you're playing. I mean, he just kind of does it all for everybody. So other than that, there's not many other combos I could recommend. I mean, if you do end up getting a hit, let's say mid-screen like this, and you do vanish, you could always just do this, and go into a route from there. You won't get sliding knockdown unless you use an assist, but I mean, other than that, you don't really have much to go for. You don't really get sliding knockdown. There are certain situations where you can do like a combo like this, and you can get Oki from it, just because of the height that you're at. So for example, you do something like that just to kind of check and see what they're doing down there. But other than that, if you're not getting the Ghost Oki and you're not getting level 3 with a character or setting up for this something, then you kind of have to toy around with the offense that you have right now and kind of work on it, just because it is possible to get the situation from pretty much everywhere. So this section is going to focus on Gotenks' assist, as well as his synergies with certain characters that I believe are very, very strong. So the first assist that he has is his A assist, which is his Galactic Donut. Now this is a block stun assist as well as a tracking assist. It doesn't have the greatest tracking. For example, if I set the bot to kind of do like this, they're kind of going to be able to evade it a little bit. Well, not even a little bit, a lot of it. But in block strings, it's really good because they can't spark if they try to. So you can actually run like a 50-50 if you put them in that situation. Really good if you have a character like Nappa who can kind of do this and cover that area and put them in block stun. Vegito, same way. So just keep in mind that if you play a character and you can do that, it's really, really good. But I mean, overall, it's a kind of a block stun / neutral type assist. That has that unique sparking interaction. So the next assist is also a block stun assist. B assist has 40 frames of block stun, and it comes in at 25 frames, which is not the fastest, but it's not the slowest either. Unfortunately, this assist can do 2H, so if you try to do something like this, and you kind of run in, then you will get 2H, and he will get 2H too, kind of the nature of the game. But yeah, you're gonna have to figure out where you can use this assist if you play a character that can easily get in or they can't easily get in. There's a bug with the assist as well. If you do a certain record series and you call the assist later on, the assist is going to jut them backwards and you won't get the same route they usually get. However, this is a very consistent assist. Otherwise, the hit stun is pretty good and you get a consistent follow-up without that bug. So it's a decent assist to have. Now the last assist I want to talk about is probably the best assist that he has. It's probably one of the best assists in the game currently. It's his C assist. So C assist, obviously they have a longer cooldown. However, because of the nature of the C assist, you get a follow-up from basically anywhere. So this is really, really strong, especially because Gotenks is one of the few characters where if you hold up, he can actually aim the assist up. Really, really, really good. This actually allows for a specific snap setup sequence that enables basically everyone to get a snap loop, which is really, really strong. Another thing about this assist is that when you're playing in neutral with it, you'll want to be floating, and it can actually cover it can cover their approach, and it can cover your approach as well. Something that I've noticed a lot while I'm playing is if I do something like this, that can bait reflect. A lot of people will like to reflect there just because they see a projectile or something like that, and they will try to reflect the assist because they see it coming out, and you can just bait it. So the assist has a lot going for it just because being able to whiff it enables a mind game, covers up back really well. It also has beam block stun, which means it's 30. Well, actually, it has more than an average beam. Normally beams have like 30. His has 33. So if they block that in the air, that's 39 frames of block stun. So it's a really, really good assist, and the reason why it's particularly good for Gotenks himself is because he's a character that actually thrives off of having kind of pressure himself. So him being a point character means you don't have to necessarily run the risk of running a C assist all the time, just because he may not even be on your assist. He might be on point most of the time, you know, doing Ghost Oki or something else. So you don't have to really run the C assist as much as you want to, just because it's not available. I mean, you're playing a point. And the other thing is that if he builds meter for your team or puts them in a situation where, for example, you would do like a Nappa restand, then you don't have to worry about the assist because the follow-up is going to kill them regardless, you know. So the C assist is more of like an added bonus for a character that already has a lot of, you know, strong tools offensively. So that's it for his assist. As far as team synergy, here's what Gotenks likes, all right? Gotenks likes Krillin assist, okay? This assist just kind of checks Super Dash completely. You can't really do anything about it. Having this basically makes it kind of just like a free real estate to be able to kind of get in with EX hands or whatever. But even though I believe Gotenks is his best partner, he still has a lot of synergy with Tien. He has a lot of synergy with Yamcha, Base Goku. As far as mid characters, if you want to play, I recommend Nappa. If you are really wanting to play one of the cheapest teams in the game, please play this team that I'm choosing on the left here. It has so much potential that I haven't tapped into yet. But you're enabling setup with a Cyberman. You're enabling level 3 mix with Krillin. You have level 3 mix with Nappa if you want it. Basically everything in the book. Gotenks also works really well with characters like Broly or Zamasu, ones that like to meter dump, just because he does have so many avenues to kind of dump that meter for them. And he also works well with characters like Adult Gohan, Android 18, Base Vegeta. He pretty much works with the whole cast, outside of maybe like Hit. But I mean, a defensive assist for Gotenks would be kind of nuts. But yeah, I mean, overall, if you're looking to play any character with Gotenks, it will probably work. The only character that I would say would probably be better on point for Gotenks is Jiren. But of course, then you would run the game plan of, oh, let me get the hit with Jiren, tag Gotenks in, and do Ghost Oki set play, and then go from there. But overall, those pretty much how I feel about his teams. I would almost always run him point and focus on Ghost Oki if you don't have a stronger game plan. Like, for example, I probably would do Zamasu Blaze of Judgment if it was available to me, but if it's not, then I would go for Ghost Oki. Or Cyberman setup, I would probably go for Cyberman setup. But after that, there's not many setups I would go for outside of a level 3, you know. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any tips or want to contribute to the channel, please consider following, subscribing, clicking the notification bell. Really helps the algorithm like me and like my content, you know what I'm saying? So just make sure that you guys leave a like and let me know how you feel about Gotenks. Is he underrated? Is he overrated? Personally, I think he's like top 3, but don't tell anyone I said that, because they're gonna have their pitchforks ready for me. So with that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.